Hello, everybody. Here today. We got 9 discussion topics we're going to go over. So first one, read out loud or ask a student to read out loud. This is about Dakota on page 229. We read this out loud in class. So, can you relate to her experience in any way? How do you feel when someone makes a decision that affects you without seeking your input? Does it ever create more conflict? So, I guess when I was growing up, when I was adopted, my adopted mother, she would try to facilitate sometimes, without me knowing. And she was just trying to help out. 99% of the time, she was right. I was just hard headed, but it was for me then. It was all about. I felt like I owed her when she did stuff like that, so I didn't like it. I didn't like that feeling of like I was going to have to pay this back to somehow. And as a 16, 17-year-old kid with nothing to his name, it wasn't a good feeling. But growing up, and even at the time, like when she would do it, and I realized this was the right thing to do. But it can create more conflict because of like how I felt and my stubbornness and all that. Number 2, watch the scene from the television series Station 19, and which strategies do you see being used? So this scene, there's 2 people, they're trying to talk to each other. One is using avoiding. She's just not ready to talk. She doesn't want to talk about it yet. She's maybe punishing him a little bit by not talking to him, because obviously he's wanting to, and he's using more of a collaborative / compromising. Like he's willing to do passive aggressive. Like he's willing to do anything to get her to talk. Willing to go out on a limb and, hey, can we talk about this? We can talk about that. I just want you to talk to me. Tell me what's going on. Tell me why you're mad at me. And then she finally relents, and they get into it. Discussion 3. There's a quote here. It's not the source of conflict that causes relational problems as much as it's how people handle the source of conflict. Do you agree with this statement? Why or why not? I do. It emphasizes like the importance of the response versus the reaction over the reaction. So being able to, and I wrote some notes down, just like handling it, conflict, controversy, calmly. And so that's why I think it's hard to do. And so I agree with it, but it's tough to actually execute. Discussion 4. This one, a blogger who goes by the name Yoga Nerd alludes to memory disputes and describes something she and her husband try to do with some success whenever they don't share the same memory. I thought this was a neat idea. They have an excerpt here. My husband and I must be masters at having 2 separate versions of the past, but we always argue with the assumption the other person might be right, and we might be remembering things incorrectly. So this takes a lot of humility and some grace to put yourself in the other person's shoes, to immediately go to bat for their perspective. She talks about how fast things get resolved, and I absolutely I love that idea. Again, executing that, getting 2 people on the same page willing to do it, it's tough. Egos get in the way there. Number 5, there was a narrative on page 244. Fernando, can you relate to the narrative about feeling control that's about his parents? Which power bases are his parents using? So I believe they're using reward, coercive. They've rewarded him for doing well, for being responsible. But they're also like, hey, if you stay here, we'll pay for this. If you go, we won't. We bought you the car. You did the upgrades. The car's going to stay here. That's a tough situation. I want to know, can I relate to this? Again, being adopted, I don't really relate to this. I didn't have, like, even my mom, she wasn't like that. She was a very trusting, as long as I let her know where I was going, what I was doing, she was cool with it. We communicated. And then my adoptive parents, they didn't try to control me at all. It was, they kind of, I was 16, 17 at that time, so it was kind of taking who I was and what I was at that point, and they just worked with it. So now, being a parent, I definitely, like, it depends. So, like, my 7-year-old, his prized possession is his tablet. During the week, we have rules, and we have, like, it's really almost impossible for him to get tablet time during the week, just because with after school activities and sports and things like that. But it's there. It's like if he gets good grades, if his room's picked up, and if he reads his book. So he's got to do 3 or 4 different things every day. But when he does those, and he comes to me, he's like, "Dad, I've read my book. My room's clean. My grades are good this week. I made all, whatever. He passed all of his tests really well. Yeah, bud, you can get 30 minutes of tablet time." And that right there, I mean, he is just through the moon. And sorry, I have a call coming in. We're gonna pause that. So yeah, that's that I do use kind of the carrot stick approach as a parent, to get in my mind, to get the best out of my kids. There's a reward there, but there's rules there too. Like, so there's sometimes after a certain time, it doesn't matter if you hit all the rules or not. If it's after a certain time, there's a precedent there, and I stick with it, and that way they know that they can trust me at all times. Like, Dad said this. This is what Dad means. I'm trying to see here. Number 6. Watch the scene from the okay. Bridezilla. Let me just say, I did. I spent the 3 minutes and 35 seconds watching this thing. For one, how in the... I know everybody gonna say it's just TV. No. Old girl over here talking about, she telling my mother-in-law whatever she needs to hear. I don't know if I'm gonna sign the wedding certificate, but I'm gonna have a wedding. And then old dude, "Oh yeah, I'm telling her I'm going to therapy, but I ain't going to therapy. I'm not doing. I just want to have a wedding." What the hell y'all getting married for? Like, no. Anyway, which compliance again? They were bargaining and pre-giving. I'm done with that one. Number 7. In the scene from the hit television series Friends, Ross figures out a clever way to control his boss's behavior. What is it? This is more of a coercive bargaining. He sees his boss doing something silly, funny that Rachel probably wouldn't want to know about. He knows that. The boss knows that. Now the boss knows that he knows that. So he uses it to his advantage to stay there that weekend. Number 8. This is Danielle's narrative, page 250 of the text. How did Danielle's boss validate her? What effect did the boss validation have on Danielle? This was pretty good. I can relate to this. So you gotta, when you have a team of people, you have different personalities, and the boss used a motivational tactic by kind of bringing up the lowest sales earners, singled them out in a way. Danielle was one of them. And Danielle's the personality, like, that's not going to work with her. That type of treatment is just going to make her worse as a salesperson. So Danielle goes to her boss and says, "Hey, I didn't like how that went down." And the good thing is the boss stepped back, realized, and said, "Hey," validated her by saying, "I apologize for that happening. I'm not going to do that anymore. We'll make sure we motivate in a different way." So that was good on everybody's part there, because that communication part a lot of times doesn't happen. The supervisor, the boss, thinks they're doing something good by motivating. A lot of times that employee doesn't come and say anything, and so as a boss you think you did the right thing, and all of a sudden that person's quitting a week later. And so That was good. And then number 9, the 6 conflict resolution steps are: identify your needs, so be clear on what you want or what you want to achieve. Share your needs, so you got to be transparent. It's got to be A to Z, in that order. This needs to be in this order. Brainstorm, so this is where you're collaborating, you're throwing everything out there. There's multiple ways of brainstorming, whether it's paper, charts, graphs, a napkin, at a restaurant type of thing. So, but brainstorming's huge. Evaluate your options. So this is where the brainstorming came up with the solutions, the potential solutions. This, when you evaluate, it's okay, what's the feasibility of the potential solutions? Implement a solution. Now you've brainstormed it, feasibility wise, you think this one works. Now it's time to put it to play. And then the last one is assess the solution. This is the lessons learned. Did it work? If it did, yes, good. We'll follow this from now on. If it didn't, why not? Go back to the brainstorming. What have we learned to help the brainstorming, and then repeat that process again. That is it for this discussion. Thank you all very much.